What's up guys, welcome back to Fancy Goldfish Fanatics. In today's video we're not going to be speaking about the usual fancy goldfish like your Oranda, your Ranchu or your Ryukin. We're actually going to be talking about some single-tailed goldfish. Now I don't think I've done many videos on single-tailed goldfish. I do have a video on Bristol Shubunkins and London Shubunkins, but I feel like I haven't really gone into depth about the single-tail varieties. Now obviously the fancy goldfish originated from single-tailed varieties, so I thought it'd be really nice to do a video on the single-tailed goldfish and some of the real hardy quality specimens that you can keep in large aquariums or your outdoor ponds. Now I was contacted by one of the members of the GSGB. If you don't know what that is the Goldfish Society of Great Britain, which I am a member of, and if you want to look into that you can Google the Goldfish Society of Great Britain, which is run by Star Fisheries. Now one of the members actually messaged me and said it would be a really good idea to do a video on the single-tail varieties, and he actually provided me with lots of images and some videos as well, so I thought why not combine it into a really nice, hopefully information rich video for you. You may not classify single-tailed goldfish as a fancy variety, but I would say they are. Obviously all of our fish have originated from a Crucian carp, common goldfish type fish, but the Bristol Shubunkin and also the London Shubunkin are a type of fancy goldfish that have been developed over the years. Now these fish have been developed all over the world, from Japan to America, Asia, but the original Bristol and London Shubunkins were actually formulated in around the 1920s here in the UK, with obviously the Bristol Shubunkin being made or created in the Bristol area and the London Shubunkin obviously being created in the London area. Now although these two fish are fairly similar, they also have their differences. Now throughout this video I'm going to put lots of images and some videos up on the screen that have been provided by John, one of the GSG members, so look out for those and hopefully they will help give you some insight into some of the nicer and high quality single-tailed specimens that you can get. So now let's talk about the main varieties. You have your common goldfish, you have your comet being a Sarasa comet or a normal comet, you also have a standard Shubunkin, you have London Shubunkin, and you also have the Bristol Shubunkin as well. Now there are a few other types of single-tailed goldfish like the Sabayo goldfish and also the Tamasaba, and I've actually done a video on those recently. I'll put a little link up in one of the corners of the videos that you can check out yourself. Now the name common goldfish probably isn't that appropriate because the common goldfish was actually formulated from the Crucian carp, which if you don't know what it looks like, I'll put a little picture up on the screen for you now, but it is a real bronzy sort of looking small carp. Now it's definitely not Cyprinus carpio, it is a different family, but it has similar appearances, similar aesthetics to your common carp, but generally a Crucian carp is bronze in colour. It has a hump behind the head, which obviously the common goldfish tend not to have, and they try to move away from that body characteristic. It also is quite a large fish. Generally larger Crucian carp can quite comfortably get up to 2, 3, 4 pounds in weight, and I've caught many of them over the years when I used to go fishing quite a lot. Now the common goldfish has been developed from the Crucian carp, and you will notice with the common goldfish they've removed that hump behind the head, and they've also moved away from that bronze coloration. Now the common goldfish can come in a range of different colours, orange, yellow and even red as well. Now there are sort of a blend between these colours over the range of common goldfish, but you can see how the common goldfish has similar characteristics to that Crucian carp, but it also has its own characteristics where the different fish have been interbred over the decades to form the traits that were desired. Now the comet goldfish is similar to a common goldfish, however they tend to have an elongated tail which makes them really fast swimmers, and that is why generally we don't recommend keeping comets or common goldfish with our fancy goldfish varieties, as they're generally a lot faster moving, get to the food quicker and can be a little bit more aggressive at feeding time and also spawning time in comparison to our chunkier, fatter fancy goldfish. Now, generally when you're selecting a comet goldfish, you want it to have a really nice forked, elongated tail. You don't want that tail to be drooping down or coming down. On some veiled tails, you may notice the large tail, because it is so big, it can droop down and it really can lose its fin deportment within the water. And that goes for the same thing as a comet goldfish. You want that tail to be nice and elongated, and you don't want it to be bent down and drooping down. You want to make sure the fish has all of its fins present, has a really nice sleek body line. You want to make sure there are no bumps or there are no imperfections in the spine. It shouldn't have a severe hump behind the head. It should be a real nice streamlined fish, which also makes them perfect for the pond environment. Now, comets and common goldfish can get quite big. Generally, in the right environment, they should attain easily 10 to 12 inches, which is why they're generally unsuitable for the home aquarium, unless I would say you probably want a tank of at least 600 litres, and I would say an ideal tank for comet and common goldfish is in the 800 to 1000 litre range if possible. Now, the Sarasa comet is very similar to the standard comet, but a Sarasa comet is a red and white fish. Now, the Sarasa comet has so many different color patterns, and generally you'll never find two fish that are exactly the same. Now, in Japan, they call the white shiroji and the red beni, and that red and white can be really striking in color, especially when viewed from a pond environment from the top view. Now, if you want a high quality specimen, you should find a balanced pattern over both sides of the fish, and also that pattern should run from head to tail and be nice and even throughout the fish's body. So now let's get on to the London Shubunkins. Now, the London Shubunkins was also developed from the common goldfish, but it is a calico fish rather than a metallic fish. Generally, you'll find on London Shubunkins, they have a real deep blue base to them and a really nice spotted calico pattern all over. Similar to the London Shubunkin, the Bristol Shubunkin has very similar characteristics. However, you will notice it has an absolutely lovely tail to it, and they are very eye-catching from the top and from the side. I would love to have an aquarium full of Bristol Shubunkins because I really do like that tail with the lobes on top and bottom, and I believe from memory they were developed in around the 1920s here in the UK in Bristol. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there are also other single-tail goldfish varieties that I'm not really going to go into depth in this video, and that includes the Tamasaba and the Sabao goldfish, or Sabao goldfish, however you like to pronounce it. Now, I did do that video, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, on the Tamasaba goldfish, which is a really large single-tail goldfish, sometimes called a mackerel tail as well, and the Sabao or Sabao goldfish is very similar to a Tamasaba, but it follows a little bit more closely to the common goldfish body shape. It is a little bit more streamlined. It doesn't quite have the same hump behind the head as well, and they are quite similar. The Tamasaba and the Sabao goldfish are very similar, and this, as I mentioned, the Sabao is a little bit more similar to our common goldfish counterpart, but those were both developed in Japan, and they are a Japanese origin fish. Now, the Tamasaba has come from a fantail and a Ryukin line. You can get twin-tail Tamasaba as well, but you can also more commonly get the single-tail variant as well. Now, as I've mentioned throughout this video, the single-tailed goldfish are generally best in the pond environment. They are really hardy and they can survive down to very, very cold temperatures. Both the London Shubunkin and the Bristol Shubunkin do absolutely fine in a pond environment, and especially a common goldfish, comet goldfish and Sarasa comets do absolutely fine in those. Now, you can keep them in aquariums. As I mentioned, I would say you want something at least 600 litres or more, as in the right environment and with the right care, these fish can get quite large. They are very quick swimmers, so containing them in small glass boxes, I suppose you could say, can be a little bit detrimental to their health, especially if they're feeding or spawning, as they may bump into the glass sides. They can also make really good viewing in an aquarium as well from the side view, as these single-tailed goldfish are constantly moving around the aquarium, and they are quite a lot more active than you would find with our fancy goldfish counterparts like Myoranda, a little bit more sluggish and a little bit more slow moving around the tank. So if you do have a single-tailed variety aquarium, it can be quite aesthetically pleasing to see the fish constantly moving around your aquarium. You can also even grow some small single tails in a smaller aquarium and then transfer them to the pond environment if you want to bring them up or bring them up to size within your home before releasing them outdoors into a pond. That works just as well. As I mentioned, they are very, very hardy. They tend not to suffer nearly as much as the other fancy goldfish from swim bladder issues or from buoyancy issues. They generally eat anything that is thrown at them. They grow very quickly and they are very strong, hardy fish. So if you want to get into the fancy goldfish world but potentially don't want to start with some higher quality or some slightly more difficult specimens, I would definitely look at some single tail varieties, providing you can house them in the correct environment. They are very good in large aquariums, and it's really nice to get into the hobby because they can be a slightly cheaper alternative to purchasing sort of your larger or your higher quality fancies. You can easily pick up comets, Sarasa comets, Bristol Shubunkins and London Shubunkins at really small sizes for not much money at all. You can easily get these fish for under £20, under £10 even at small sizes. Have the convenience and have the excitement of being able to grow them on and then potentially put them out into your garden pond. But that is it for today's video. Hopefully you've enjoyed me talking about the different common goldfish varieties, and I thought it was quite interesting having a little detour from our generic fancy goldfish that we always talk about on the channel. Now, I am going to start fisheries in around 2 weeks time, so if you have anything that you want me to film there, please let me know down below. It has been absolutely ages since I've last been there. I'm crossing my fingers that I can pick up some new fish for the Goldfish Mega Tank as well. If there's any fish that you would like me to get for the Mega Tank, let me know down in that comment section below. But also, as I mentioned, let me know if there's anything you want me to film, any varieties that they may have that you would like me to do a sort of species profile or a variety profile on. Maybe I could do a tour of the facility and hopefully we could select and pick some new fish. Fingers crossed. But that's it for this video. If you do have any questions, let me know down below. If you want to have your tank or setup featured on the channel, let me know in the comment section or pop me an email, fancygoldfishfanatics@gmail.com. But that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Remember to keep this water changes up and happy fish keeping.